Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. It's been a while since I've done one of these Teach Python videos, and so I wanted to do another one. And now, instead of using sort of the default Python sort of notepad type thing that it comes with, what would they call that? See here if it gives me a name. Well, using the Python IDE and the little text editor that it comes with, I'm using Replit. Basically, this is kind of an online portal where you don't need to download anything on your computer. You can practice coding in any language for the most part, or any modern language, right here and practice. So I have set up for Python, and I'm going to be doing many of my future lessons for Python using this. So we've kind of talked a lot about sort of the data structures, tuples, lists. What I'm going to do is talk about functions, because one of the things in programming is you do what's called dry. Don't repeat yourself. Meaning, if you're going to be doing something in coding that you're going to do over and over again, then make a function out of it. So that way, instead of typing the whole thing out every time and and then if there's a mistake, you have to figure out which time you made the mistake. It just makes it that much more work for yourself. You just don't want, you're just trying not to repeat yourself. So you create a function. So if I wanted to print, instead of saying, if I wanted to print hello somebody, so if I wanted to print hello Steve, and then I copied and pasted this, Bob, Jess, this is redundant, okay? So I get the results that I want, but I had to type all that out 3 times. What I could have done is created a function. Now, how do you create a function in Python? Now, what you're going to do is you're going to use the keyword def, meaning I'm defining the function. So I'm going to define hello, and then you have to put 2 parentheses. This is where you would put your parameters if you're going to use any. We'll come back to that. And then colon. Now, then below that is where you're going to put the stuff that happens when you call this function, which has got to be indented. So this print, I'm going to indent. Now the problem is, if I could use this now. So now this is defined. So now I could just call the function, say hello. So if I run the thing again, there it says hello Steve. The problem is, it says Steve is hard-coded. But what if I want to say hello Steve, hello Bob? What I could do is that take Steve out and replace it with a variable. Okay, variable name. But how does we know what the name is? I got to pass it as a parameter. So in the parentheses over here, I can declare any parameters I'm going to be using in this function. So I'm going to have to say there's a parameter, so we can pass a value to this function, and that function is going to be called name. And you can do multiple. You can do as many as you want, and you can even set it up in ways where basically you have infinite parameters. But bottom line is that the first variable that I put, or the first value that I pass as a parameter to this function, will be labeled name, and I can use that name within the function. Okay, so now, if I were to call name, I can start calling people's names. So hello, Bob. Now I can copy and paste this. All I gotta do is change the name. Ta-da! Okay, which is great. To not repeat code. Now, for something simple like this, probably not the most useful thing in the world, but as you do more and more complicated things over and over again, functions can save you a lot of time. Now, right now, all this does is execute the code that I have in the function. It doesn't give me any kind of value. So if I want to assign this to a variable, so if I were to sit there and say, hey, I'm going to create a variable name2, or actually we'll call it name2, and we're going to say the value of name2 is the result of hello Bob. Okay, and then we'll print the value of the name2 variable. Let's see what we get. You get hello Bob and none. Reason being is that first it runs the hello function, prints hello Bob onto the screen, but hello Bob doesn't return any value. I've never actually said it returns anything. So then it just assigns a none value to name2. So when I print name2, it just says none. So maybe I want to return the actual name that I use in the function So I can say return name. Okay, and then now, watch what happens. So it still does the function. It says, so basically when I call the hello Bob function, it's going to print hello name, hello Bob, but then it returns the value of that parameter, Bob, to name2. Now, something to keep in mind, something called variable scope. So if I were to also print that variable name, because hey, didn't we just say that name equals Bob? That's how we got Bob into name2. Watch what happens when I run it. See, I get a problem because name doesn't exist outside of the function. This is what's called variable scope. So when I declare a variable as a parameter, meaning I declare it here, when I define the function, that variable is only useful within the function. So within these lines of code that are indented, telling what the function does, I can refer to name because it knows that I pass Bob as a parameter, and then that parameter is called name. So where in the function that I have name, replace it with that parameter that I passed through to the function. But once you get back outside of the function, name, I never declared a name. There was never a name. So for example, if I did create a name, so if I were to say name equals 5 and run that, okay, so now we see Bob, so basically hello Bob, then I printed out the variable Bob, and then but name, the value of name was 5. Because it's the global name with global scope, because I declared it outside of a function, is 5, is a separate variable than the parameter name. So you always want to keep track of those things and be careful with the way you, with what's declared where and what variable you're referring to and how it's scoped and all that stuff. But you can use functions to do pretty much all sorts of really cool stuff. So that's the function. You can use it to not have to do code over and over again. So you find something that you're going to be using a lot, make it a function. Well, I'll see you guys in the next video. Again, you guys can check out my portfolio and any projects that I'm working on over there at alexmercedcoder.com. I've been doing a lot of stuff with JavaScript, particularly with React, and then also working with Django and Python, and also trying to learn Stencil.js, which is a really cool tool I'll be making some video tutorials on sooner than later. But just want to show you guys this. You guys have a great one. I'll talk to you guys later.